Thank you for that introduction. So as you said, I am from Iqaluit, Nunavut. I get a lot of questions about that, more than accounting sometimes. So if you guys have questions, come up and let me know. So I'll be doing your presentation today on careers in accounting. So like you said, just a bit about me. I'm a Manitoba Métis. I'm from Nunavut. I got my education basically here in Manitoba and in Saskatchewan. And I have some industry experience. So I was with the Northwest Company as their internal auditor for 2 years. And I'm currently the controller at Tribal Council's Investment Group of Manitoba here in Winnipeg. And I'll tell you what controller means. I always say I put control in controller, but basically it's just a corporate job, meaning that you're basically the head of the finance department. So I'll go into more of that. So as you said, I was at the Northwest Company, and so this is one of the oldest companies in Canada, and in North America, actually. So basically, their main branch is the Northwest Company, so they're northern stores. But they operate in all over the world. So we have Northern Canada, Western Canada, Alaska. Thank you. Alaska, the South Pacific, areas like Guam and Japan, and also the Caribbean. So I was there for 2 years, and so here's some of the banners. So some of them that you might recognize would be, well, we have Value Lots here in the city, as well as Giant Tiger. Crescent Multifoods is here in the city, but the Costi Less is actually in the Caribbean. So through this job, it was a great job. It was just a lot of travel, which at the beginning was awesome, but after a while, after 2 years, we got a little bit tired of it. But here's some of the places I went. So I went to Guam, which is a US island off of Japan, and Tokyo, Fort Lauderdale, all over Manitoba, Quebec. I went to the Cayman Islands twice, which is right by Cuba. All over Nunavut, which was good for me, because that's where I'm from, and all over Alaska. So great experience, loved it. If any of you can get jobs with traveling, highly recommend it. You learn a lot about yourself. And currently, I am the controller at Tribal Council's Investment Group here in Winnipeg. So the company's only 20 years old, 25 years old, and it's basically owned by seven tribal councils here in Manitoba. So there are shareholders. They're the ones who originally invested, $75,000 each 25 years ago, and now we're a multi-million-dollar company. So currently I'm the controller. Under me I have 7 finance employees, and that's currently growing. We are a fast-paced growing company, and we're always acquiring new companies. We're a relatively young company, which means that there's always new challenges, and there's lots of opportunity to advance my career if I so choose. So I'm really happy here. I've been here since July of last year. So here's some of our banners currently. So we own Arctic Beverages, which is our Pepsi distributor for northern Manitoba, all over the Arctic in Canada. We also have a transportation company, a fuel company, and Walkbox here in the city. On Kenaston and St. Mary's, we own those locations. And we also are opening a Famous Dave's. So who here's heard of Famous Dave's? It's really good. Anyone who's eaten there, it's really good. So actually, we're opening up the first Famous Dave's in Canada, here in Winnipeg in June of this year. And it's going to be on Lage in the Transcona area there. And we're very excited. We have the Canadian rights to this restaurant. So I actually just tried it for the first time in February, and I loved it. Gained like 5 pounds, but that's not the point. It's really good food, so highly recommended. But as you can see, we're a very diverse company. We have a lot going on, a lot of different industries. So in that sense, it's very fun. So now I'll get into kind of, this conversation is more about careers in accounting, so I want to kind of go over what options are available. So currently, just some stats. Chartered accountants, there's 75,000 in Canada and 12,000 students. There's a certified general accountant, which is a CGA, and there's 73,000 of these. And then there's certified managerial accountant, CMA, and there's 40,000 of them. So as you can see, there's more CAs than any other designation in Canada. So basically, I'm just gonna go through the process and the requirements for each designation so you can see and understand the process and how they're different and how they're similar. So for the CA designation, you need a Bachelor of Commerce degree or equivalent. So usually this is through a university. Some people start out in college, and then to get the requirements, move up to the university. So however you get it, but basically a Bachelor of Commerce degree, which is a 4-year degree. And then there's 2 streams of education after your four-year degree. You can either go into the CA School of Business, which is basically composed of 6 modules that you do online, and you can still have some face-to-face sessions. But this is while you're working for a designated accounting firm. So you're working your normal hours from 8:30 to 5, and then in the evening you go home and you work on your courses. And you basically do this for 2 to 3 years. Then there's the Master of Professional Accounting stream, which is what I did. This one is much more limited in the sense that they only take about 60 students across Canada per year. So it's a lot harder to get into. That being said, once you're in it, it's very intense. It's a university courses, so it's like normal classes. You do this in Saskatchewan, University of Saskatchewan, in Saskatoon, over 2 summers. So it's the equivalent of 7 months. But the bonus is that while you're there, you're only focusing on school, and then when you return to your city, your home city, you're working. So you're not doing both. And for me, I'm the type of person, I like to focus on one thing at a time. I wasn't interested in working and then going home and doing schoolwork all night. So it depends on what you like. Either stream, you must obtain 30 months minimum of practical experience. So that's at a designated accounting firm. If you guys have any questions, just put your hand up and I'll try to answer it. So that's the CA stream. So then there's a certified general accountant stream. So whereas in the CA program, you needed an honors Bachelor of Commerce degree, this one you need an undergraduate degree. It does not have to be a Bachelor of Commerce, but you still need certain courses to be able to get into the program. You also need senior management experience of 36 months. So again, this is not at a designated accounting firm, so you're not articling during this time, but it could be for the government, it could be for a not-for-profit, as long as you have some sort of job that meets the criteria. The CGA, they require a BCom degree before your certification, but you don't need it to get into the program. So they offer the courses that you need to get your BCommerce degree, but you don't need it to get into the program. Does that make sense? Yeah, ultimately you don't have to have a Bachelor of Commerce degree to enter, but you'll have it when you leave, along with your CGA, okay? Then there's a certified management accountant. So I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but there's 2 ways to get in. You can have certain courses that you need, so 18 prerequisite courses, they call them. So again, not a degree, but just these courses. Or you can have a university degree with only 4 key courses. So it depends on how you want to get in. But once you're in, you write the CMA entrance exam. So it's a standard examination, it's national. And then you get into the professional program. Again, this is the work experience requirements that you'll need. And then after that, you have your CMA. So it's a little bit different. This one has 1 exam, and then they focus more on the work experience as opposed to doing courses and working at the same time. So I'm focusing more from a chartered accountant perspective because that's what I know best, but a lot of these stats can be applied to the other designations as well. So 40% of CAs are in public practice. What that means is they're the ones in the public practice firms, so the KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst & Young. They're the ones who are doing audits, they're doing tax returns, they're doing everyday accountant work for companies and people. And 60% are in industry, government, not-for-profit, or teaching. So I am considered in industry because I'm working for a company that's not in public practice and that we're just investment company, so that's considered industry. So in public practice, again, I went over that. You're basically working with clients. You're doing audits, tax evaluation, business valuations. Somebody wants to sell their business, and they want to know, how much can I get for it? They want to have it valued. Or they want to buy a business. They want to know how to do that. So it's a lot of consulting. Also, if somebody goes bankrupt or a company goes bankrupt, they're the ones who will work with the company and the lawyers to make sure that it goes smoothly, that everyone gets what they want. Industry, again, these are positions like CEO, CFO, controller. Basically, you're not in public practice. And then government, this one's pretty self-explanatory, but these are things like tax auditors, so CRA, the Canadian Revenue Agency. They're the ones, they have CAs working for them, looking at taxes, making sure that they're receiving all the income taxes from the citizens. And then there's financial analysts and policy planners. And then there's education. So obviously there's going to be professors teaching accounting courses to make sure that there's new accountants coming out all the time. So a lot of my professors in university in accounting were chartered accountants as well. So now, money, everyone wants to know. So from the 2011 census, they do a salary census every year to see what individuals in this profession are making. So for the national average compensation, this is for all areas of profession, so it was about $180,000 for a new 2008 CA. So that was my class. So I graduated in 2008. So in my designation, as of now, I should be making about $95,000 average national. Some places going to be higher, some places going to be lower. If you were a CA before 1976 and you're still working, then you're at $283,000 average per year. If you got your CA between 2001 and 2005, you're at about $150,000 per year. So as you can see, the more time that goes by, the more money you'll be making. It doesn't plateau. And then there's compensation by area. So I briefly went over the areas that accountants can work. So basically, industry is the highest. Other, I really want to know what's in other, but I don't. So industry is the number one. That's just because a lot of times you're employed by public companies that are making a lot of money, that can have the money to be able to spend to keep their employees. Not-for-profit is just that. It is usually, its funding is limited, so as a result, they have to pay their employees on average lower. Government is also lower, but they have a lot of benefits as well as pension. So there's a lot of things to consider, but overall, industry is highest. Then compensation by job title. So again, you really want to be a president or CEO because they make about $500,000 average per year. Chief financial officer, that's like basically the person that's ahead of the finance department. So my boss is a CFO. Controller, that's what I do. Average is about $116,000 per year. CA firm partner, $285,000 a year. So again, these are all different areas, but as you can see, they're all pretty high and you can have a pretty comfortable life. Compensation by age. So this is one of the education areas where they're really not discriminatory against age because you can actually do pretty well even though you're pretty young. So you can be making six figures by the time you're 35. Typically, they would always say when I was in university, once you have your CA within 5 years, you should be making about at least 100 grand. So as you can see, again, as you get older, you get paid more, which is great. This is just CAs because CA they fund a compensation study every year. But again, a lot of the areas you could apply to the other other designations. So I'll just go over why I chose the accounting profession. It's diverse and there's a lot of variety. As I showed you from the exhibits, there's just a lot that you can do. You weren't limited to one area. You aren't a lawyer, so you're not limited to law. I wanted to be able to go and work with any company anywhere in the world. And I knew that with accounting, you can do that because no matter where you go, it's all the same. And that's why I really liked it. Obviously, high demand and high opportunity. A lot of companies need accounting. Stability and the money. Obviously, like I just said, it's not discriminatory against age. So you can start off pretty strong. Respect and global recognition. The Chartered Accountant designation is unique in the fact that it's recognized internationally. So there's, you can easily go and work in the United Kingdom or anywhere you really want because it's the international designation. CGA and CMA are in Canada. So just going through, this is more talking about your articling experience when you're actually having to get that 30 months of practical experience. These are some of my favorite and least favorite aspects of it. So the favorites were the client interaction. You get to really learn how to be professional, how to ask for what you want, how to be concise, how to be polite when people are rude to you. Also marketing for new clients, solving problems, multitasking, that's a big one. You could be working on multiple clients at the same time, and you have to act like every client is your number one. So you have to be able to really prioritize, as well as work in a team. A lot of times you'll go for an audit, and you're working in a team, depending on the company, you're working from teams from 3 to 10 to 20. And autonomy, so really, depending on the client, again, you could be working by yourself, which is a nice break from a team. My least favorite, so when you first start, you're kind of doing the grunt work, which isn't very fun. So the first couple months, I was kind of like, why am I doing this? Why did I go to school for 4 years to photocopy? But that actually didn't last very long. And once you're kind of out of your first year and you don't cost so much to your client, you can actually do more work. But in the beginning, because I was charged out the least to the client, so I was paid the least, they'd send me on coffee runs and photocopy, and I didn't like that. But that was only the first little while. And personality conflicts, obviously. You're stuck in a room with certain people, little things will start to annoy you, and you just have to learn to deal with it and kind of get over it and deal with it. So that was good. So just a few changes in the industry. So Canada was following the Canadian generally accepted accounting principles. But in 2011, so last year, we completely changed to the international financial reporting standards. So now we're more in line with other countries around the world. So this was a change to our practices. But basically, this affected public companies. So public companies are ones that are traded on the stock exchange. So this really affected their financial statements. Not so much private companies, but a little bit. But this was a big change for the accounting profession. Another one. So I mentioned that there's 3 different designations in Canada, which to a lot of countries is confusing because they don't know the differences between the 3. So one of the ideas was to merge the CMA and the CA and ultimately the CGA into one powerhouse profession called the CPA, so Certified Professional Accountant. This is interesting because the US accountants are also called CPAs. But anyway, so they want to have one powerhouse designation. There was a vote this year between CAs and CMAs to see who would be in favor of this. There was 60% in favor of the change, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen right away or at all because it has to go through the various provincial legislatures. So it has to go through Manitoba, Saskatchewan, all of them, and then it will be seen by the federal government. So this is just one of the things they're considering. So I know you guys, a lot of you guys are not in university, or you're thinking about what to do, or you're still in high school, or you're looking for a change. So I kind of went back and thought what I did to succeed in school. And I was talking more about university because I came from a really small town, really isolated in the Arctic. So I kind of wish somebody would told me what they had done when they went to school to succeed. And really, I attended all of my classes. I kind of thought, you know what, I'm paying university $5,000 a year to teach me, so I'm gonna go to all my classes. I started my assignments early just because I didn't like rushing at the end, because I felt like if I rushed, I would just make a lot of mistakes. So I started early, I asked questions to my professors, and I really wanted to make sure I was learning from everything, because again, I thought I'm paying people for this, so I want to get my bang for my buck. Maybe that's the accountant in me talking, but also make sure you have balance, because in my first year, I don't think I really managed that very well. and I focused a lot on school, and you know, you want to have fun in university too, so make sure you have friends and develop all those relationships, and you know, just have some fun too. So it's not all about school. It's also about having, you know, developing your other skills. I also made a lot of lists, agendas. If something was due, I'd write it down. I didn't want to forget anything. And then you have to prioritize your time like anything else. But those are just some of the things that I did. But I think attending your classes is number one. Advice for school and working in accounting. So once you're in university, choose the right course load. A lot of people go in and they think, oh, I'm going to do the maximum, which is typically 5 courses per term. But there's some people that just can't manage that for whatever reason. So sometimes I took 4 courses per term, or I took 5. Some people take a lot less, depending on their situations. Develop a support network. So I'm speaking from personal experience here. I came from a very small place, didn't know anyone when I came to Winnipeg. So make sure, you know, you reach out, you make friends, you go to student groups, you join associations, really anything. Just make sure you have people you can go to ask questions, advice. Again, marks are not everything. So this goes back to my balance comment. I've met a lot of people in accounting or other professions that were very book smart. You know, they had a very high GPA and it was great, but there's other skills that accounting firms or any firm or any company will look for. They want people skills, communication skills, organization, knowing that you can prioritize your time. So again, just because you have an A+ in accounting doesn't mean you're gonna get a job. I've seen a lot of great people not get a job with a firm because of, you know, they didn't make a great impression, or they weren't volunteering. These are the things that different companies will value. So I definitely am a huge promoter of volunteering, getting out there, doing things outside of school. And treat school like a job. This one's iffy, because people told me this, and I'm not a morning person. So for me in university, to get up at 8 and start studying at 9 didn't really happen. I'm more of a night person, but the point is here is to, you know, make sure that you have a schedule somewhat, and that you make sure you get your studying in. And then once in the field, so when I'm talking about once you're looking for a job in accounting, specifically for articling mostly, choose the right firm for you. My first firm, I really liked the people and the atmosphere. After 2.5 years, I wanted something different. I wanted a smaller firm that had a different clientele, so I switched firms. But that's not to say I didn't choose the right firm at that time, but be open-minded that, you know, maybe, oh, I'll start here and I'll see what it's like here, and then, you know, but keep your open mind as to what you want, because every firm is different. Every firm has a different culture, different people, different expectations. So you want to find the right one that's right for you. And first impressions are important. I'm going to tell a story about this guy that I knew who was applying for my firm, and I was asked to go and kind of greet people as they were coming in to the interview with the partners. And so I was talking to some people, and I knew this one guy, and I thought he was going to be excellent in the interview. He was smart, he had good communication skills. You know, I knew he was really great in group settings. And so the partner came out and said, oh, what do you think of this guy who, you know, we're going to interview him? I said, oh, he's going to nail it. He's really, really good. He'd fit in with the company really well. And then the interview lasted maybe 10 minutes. It's supposed to be half an hour. So I knew he either nailed it or he really sucked. So the partner comes out. I said, what happened? And he goes, I couldn't take him seriously. He had this P. Diddy diamond earring in his ear, and I didn't want to listen to what he had to say, all because of an earring. Now, it's small, but people notice these types of things. If you're not professional and you're wearing a huge earring, you know, some people just aren't going to hear what you have to say. So first impressions are important. Wear a suit. Don't wear bling. That was my story about first impressions, so keep that in mind. So scholarships. So I was fortunate enough to have my entire undergrad, my master's, my articling, everything paid for by scholarships. So Some of them were specifically for Aboriginal students, but a lot of them are not. So I would just ask that you keep in mind scholarships, because actually a lot of them go to waste because people don't apply, because they probably think, oh, you know, so-and-so is gonna apply and I'm not gonna get it. But a lot of scholarships go unused because nobody applies. So my advice to you is to get one application ready. So usually a letter, a cover letter explaining who you are, you know, a picture and your resume, so on and so forth. But once you get that done, it's really just a matter of tweaking it for the next one. So by putting a couple hours into one application, you can really put that forward to, you know, numerous others. And that's basically what I did. So yeah, my point is just to really keep an eye out for scholarships, because they're always posted and a lot of them don't go to use, so.